China is tapping its friendship with Russia in a bid to pursue its ambition to be a global peacemaker. Now, efforts to find a truce in the war in Ukraine are likely to be central to President Xi Jinping's visit to Russia over the next few days. He's landed in Moscow and is set to speak with his counterpart and friend, Vladimir Putin, tonight and continue discussions tomorrow. Now, upon arrival, he expressed confidence that the trip would produce fruitful results and would give momentum to healthy and stable development of Chinese-Russian relations. Both leaders are set to discuss Beijing's propositions to stop the fighting in Ukraine. Beijing state media said that the summit between the two leaders will include a discussion of China's 12-point position paper. Now, it calls for dialogue and respect for the territorial sovereignty of all countries. This is President Xi Jinping's first visit to Russia since the Ukraine conflict first broke out. CNA's Olivia Xiong joins us live from Beijing for more on this story. Olivia, the US and some other countries view President Xi Jinping's trip with skepticism, to say the least. But given China's friendship with Russia, its roaring economic ties as well, how has China responded?
Well, Don, first off, China has repeatedly tried to frame President Xi's visit to Russia as one for friendship, cooperation, and peace. And on arrival at the Moscow airport, we saw Mr. Xi already hailing the state of bilateral ties, saying he's confident that this will be a fruitful visit and that it will inject new impetus into the bilateral relationship. But yes, this visit does come at a somewhat inconvenient time, as the ICC has put out the arrest warrant for President Putin for war crime charges, and that would probably not be the narrative that China would want to go into this trip for. It's been trying to portray itself as a responsible global leader, and Mr. Xi, this global statesman, fresh off securing that unprecedented third term as president as well. The foreign ministry was asked if this arrest warrant would affect Mr. Xi's trip, but the foreign ministry instead hit back at the ICC and called on the international community to do more to de-escalate tensions and resolve the conflict.
Olivia, portrayals...
国际刑事法院应秉持客观公正立场，尊重国家元首依据国际法享有的管辖豁免，应依法审慎行使职权，善意解释和适用国际法，避免政治化和双重标准。
Well, the foreign ministry was also asked about reports that Chinese ammunition was being used by Russia in Ukraine. But the foreign ministry instead pointed the finger back at the U.S., saying that the U.S. was the one that was supplying weapons during this Ukraine conflict, and said that the U.S. should stop fueling the fight.
Olivia, both of these leaders will be very keen to portray this trip, this visit by the Chinese leader as a success. But what sort of result would qualify that to be a success of presidency? What's at stake for him?
Well, it probably would be considered a success depending on how Mr. Xi is able to handle what is an extremely delicate situation. On the one hand, Mr. Xi would want to ensure that ties with Russia remain warm as both countries continue to face tensions with the U.S. and the West. And we saw that Mr. Xi on arrival talked about working with Russia to uphold, quote, true multilateralism in a veiled swipe to the U.S. And in an article published in Russian media, Mr. Xi also said that he was talking about looking forward to a new vision and blueprint to grow cooperation between the two countries. But on the flip side, Mr. Xi would be careful in not wanting to come across as being too over-enthusiastic or supporting Russia in the war in Ukraine out of concerns that this may risk sanctions or consequences which could hurt its own economy. Don?
Olivia, thank you for that. Olivia Xiong there in Beijing.